Well, hello and welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Frame.io Live. My name is Sean, and I'm a content producer for Frame.io. And we've got a really fun show for you today. Now, we're just getting started. We just got the room open, so we're letting folks kind of hop in and say hello. So this is a really great opportunity to jump over to that Q&A box and tell us where you're coming in from. I'm broadcasting to you live from Los Angeles, California, right in the heart of Hollywood. And I am so excited to be here with you all today. So please throw in the chat. It's a great place to locate the Q&A box. Start having some conversations with us. We're going to leave a little time at the end to do some Q&A because we want to open up the door to everyone to ask their questions live here on the program. So please throw in where you're coming in from, say hello. And yeah, we're talking with photographer Bryce Hall today. We're going over some really fun stuff. He works with a lot of really great and amazing artists out there. We really want to open up and show you what freelance photographers can really take advantage of to speed up their workflows. So I'm just kind of letting people kind of scope into the room and, let's see, getting a couple comments coming in. Want to see people can locate that Q&A box for just a few moments. Now, there is a 10-second delay as well, so that I'm giving it a few moments for people to chime in and say hello. We've also got folks on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's a little different. We've got some folks on the sidelines answering questions in LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn joining us, throw in your questions there. We have somebody that'll be able to answer those. I'll be able to see those live here, but I won't be able to respond directly inside of the chat here. So just a heads up. But awesome. We got somebody from the Bay Area, just up north, not too far. I hope the weather's nice. It's been a little rainy here last week, so I'm hoping that it kind of clears up here soon. But the last couple of days have been really nice. We've got Charlie watching on LinkedIn. Welcome, Charlie. Good to see you. And we'll see if there's some other folks that are kind of popping in and saying hello. And get a couple more folks popping in. But again, we're really excited to talk with you today. Again, we've got a lot of live events that are kind of going on. So we've got a lot of things coming at you. So even if there's some topics you want to learn more about or get some, more information on from Frame.io, definitely throw it into the chat. We're going to log that in and, go ahead and set up some more sessions in the future so we can give you some more information on how Frame.io works. We got NYC. I was just there last week. Please tell me if it's cleared up a little bit because it was rainy and stormy all week. Now, coming from LA, it's, there's a little bit too much sun sometimes, but in New York, there was a lot of rain and it it was just wet and I don't even know if it snowed out there, but let me know if it looks good. A lot of NYC in the group, actually. Hello. But yeah, let me know if it's still rainy and stormy out there. I'm hoping the sun's kind of looking nice for everyone out there because, man, when I flew back, it was really okay. Can't wait for summertime. See, it's probably still a little rainy out there right now, but hopefully summer will come soon. We'll get some nice sunshine coming in. But yeah, we'll let the chat kind of keep going for now. But again, please pop in your questions. I am going to leave a little time in at the end. We've also got some folks on the Q&A chat that are going to be able to answer some questions live for you as they come in. But any good ones that we're going to save, we'll put them in at the end. So if you don't get your question answered right away, go ahead and hang out for a little bit. We'll have a Q&A at the end. We'll be answering those towards the end of the session. But you know what? We've been a few minutes here. We got about 4 minutes in. I think it's a great time to go ahead and just get started. So let's do that. So freelance videographers and photographers suffer the same problem of getting media from the camera to a safe central location. And oftentimes they got to step away to dump or transfer media from cards to hard drives. Not only is this process time consuming, but it removes them from being able to capture valuable moments. And honestly, this process is just getting a little outdated. So also, most freelancers work as a one-person team, so the potential to make mistakes and miss deadlines is really high. So what's the alternative? Well, that's what our discussion with Bryce is going to cover today. So live music events, as you know, will require an ultra-fast turnaround. So for social media content, for reviews, and all kinds of different stuff. And in today's session, we're going to talk with photographer and videographer Bryce Hall, and he's going to talk about how he uses camera to cloud how he uses the camera to cloud workflow with Frame.io using the Fujifilm X-H2S cameras. Now, this set of Fujifilm cameras, so when I say X-H2S, it's also the X-H2 as well as the GFX 100 the second. These are the first and only cameras that will allow you to automatically upload your raw JPEG photo assets as well as your ProRes or ProRes proxy files directly up to Frame.io the moment you hit that record or shutter button, which is truly amazing. Now, as a whole, Camera to Cloud is an ecosystem of integrations that allow your assets to be uploaded fast and reliable. But this unique integration with Fujifilm, it's an internal integration, really opens up the doors to freelancers. And you can see on the slide on this slide, it's backwards here. I'm like a news anchor. So on the side here, we could see how we kind of cut out all the middle steps. We have to capture the video or the still images and our audio, and we have to a lot of times download those. We have to transfer them. We have to ship the drive out, then we have to download them again. And if you're a freelancer, this step process really takes up a lot of time and really takes away valuable moments you can have just to enjoy your life. And Camera to Cloud will streamline that workflow by taking your stills, your audios, and your video directly to editorial, directly to delivery, depending on your workflow. This is what Camera to Cloud will save. So if you want to know more about Camera to Cloud, head to our website, frame.io/C2C. It's going to pop up right on the screen there. Get my finger right. Boop. Frame.io/C2C to learn more about Camera to Cloud, because there's so many integrations and so many different cameras that you can work with. But for today's session, we're going to focus purely on Bryce's workflow with the Fujifilm cameras. Now, while he's helping artists from Teddy Swims to Slipknot stay close to their fans from across the world, his workflow is helping him build his business and his client relationships. And I'm really excited to talk with Bryce about his experience shooting these large live events, because I think that will inspire viewers in the audience to know that there is a way to streamline this process of transferring footage, all while maintaining and most of the time strengthening your relationship with your clients, no matter what type of event you are shooting. Today we are joined by independent photographer and videographer Bryce Hall. I want to thank you so much for joining. And again, if you have any questions, throw those in the chat, and we're going to save those for the end of the session to start answering those. So let's go ahead and start our discussion. Beautiful. Bryce, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
Hey, great. Good to see you as well. I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I'm so glad that you're here. And yeah, well, first off, welcome. You've done a wealth of work. There's so many different bands that you've worked with and pictures that you've taken. Talk to me a little bit about how this got started. How do you get some of these musicians under your portfolio? How did you get started? Give me the rundown.
Sure. So I've been on the road for probably like 11 years now, right after I graduated high school. And it's just something I did throughout high school. I mean, I'd be the kid that would go to football practice and leave early and have to do extra conditioning the next day because I'd want to drive an hour to Tampa or an hour to Orlando and go and just shoot a local show. Or since I was a kid, this is all I wanted to do. I've been so fascinated with the music industry, and that's all I've wanted to do. And so I kind of just went full force and didn't give myself any kind of backup plan. And I know I wanted to do content because that's what I was really passionate about, not only throughout high school, but even before high school. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of hit the ground running and would email bands, like just cold emails to their management and ask if I can go on tour with them. And I'll sell merch. I'll do, whatever I need to do as long as I can bring my camera and also shoot stuff. So it's been a wild journey the past 11 years, and it's been nice to reach the point that I'm at now. I mean, I think everyone never will feel satisfied with where they're at, no matter what they're doing. But I'm just so grateful to continue to still live this life and be able to work with the plethora of bands that I do work with and get to create some of the best content I'm putting out. So it's been great. But yeah, it's been 11 years now, and I kind of started on, the bottom of the barrel, sleeping on van floors, making $3 a day to go to Taco Bell at the end of the night. And kind of worked my way up to, now I work for Teddy Swims and I do Slipknot and Lamb of God and it's weird to say that because I don't like bragging or to sound egotistical whatsoever. But
No,
no, it's been a wild ride, and I'm just thankful to still be here and doing it, and thankful for you guys for having me on because this is beyond what I thought I would be doing when I started. So it's really really great.
now it's amazing seeing these pictures, and I used to be a videographer myself, so being able to, know where you start and where you're at now, it's probably just like mind blowing for you. So let's talk about your workflow back then. Capturing a lot of these images. We're kind of going through your career, so from the early days to where you're kind of heading to now. Talk to me a little bit about your workflow before you started using your current system.
Sure. So my workflow was, I mean, pretty similar. I think pretty much my entire career. It would be, shooting the show and getting, because, when I first started out, I'd normally be with bands that would play first or second. So they would have a 20-minute time frame of playing that I had to capture all of this content, get enough photo, enough video to be able to create, a recap piece for the night plus photos for everybody. So the workflow back then was basically just run and gun, just shoot everything, run around the venue, get whatever you can, and then when the show ends, kind of immediately go back to my computer and just dump all the footage on there, wait for it to transfer, and then just immediately start going through everything. I mean, obviously it would change night to night if, say, the band was doing something afterwards or there was content to be captured somewhere else. But for the majority of it, it would be just dumping directly after they're done playing and then going through everything. And that's one thing that really caught the attention of a lot of bands and managers and just people I worked with was the fast turnaround time. I would pride myself on getting content out night of or very early the next morning, not sleeping in the van, just things like that.
Yeah.
So that was my workflow before, which is basically just, yeah, like I said, shoot the whole show, dump everything right after the show, and go through and just get my selects and try to get them up as quick as I can, just so these bands have something to show right away, because that's what everyone wants: instant content.
So, what kind of cameras were you shooting on then before the Fujifilm, or were you always a Fujifilm fan?
No, I actually Fujifilm. The first time I used Fujifilm was when we started doing all of this. So I wasn't used to that side of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, a camera's a camera, so I can pretty much figure it out as it goes. But I was using my early career. I was using Canon. Started out on a Rebel, like everybody
Mhm.
does. Um, Worked my way up to, I think I had a 6D Mark II, and then it went swimming in the ocean in San Diego one day. So after that happened, I switched to Sony, and that's what I was using probably the past since like 2017. I would say I was using Sony, and I got a red camera as well, so I would take that out and use. I had a red Komodo, still have a red Komodo. We'll take that out
Love that
occasionally,
camera.
use that. Yeah, it's just for run and gun situations. It's one of the perfect ones. So yeah, it was Sony, and I'd say Sony a majority because the Komodo I got within the past 2 years. So yeah, it's always been Sony for the yeah for since like 2017.
So before we start jumping into the camera to cloud aspect and going into kind of your workflow, how did you hear about your experience with Fujifilm? Like, how did you, learn about it? The Frame.io portion of it and camera to cloud and actually getting into the Fujifilm ecosystem.
Yeah, so I had met one of my really good friends, JT. He was one of the first bands that he was in a band, and that was one. They were one of the first bands that actually took me out on the road. Again, a cold email to a manager, which was funny because we had a mutual friend at the time, and I was like, "Oh, it would be so funny if I hit them up." And they said yes, and I could tell her that I'm going on tour with them, and it kind of just happened just like that. So I started selling merch for JT's band at the time, and they just kept me around. I would, shoot photos and videos every night as well. Um, yeah, and then fast forward to where we are now. JT was coming through playing a show here, maybe like a year and a half ago, I think it was. And I went and picked him up, and we hung out. And he was telling me how he got involved with Frame.io and was showing me his Fujifilm camera he had, and just telling me all the wonderful things about not only Frame.io but also like this Fujifilm system and everything like that. And we just had the conversation. He was like, "Well, I can, would you want to come on for something like this, or maybe I could talk to the team and see, what we could do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, obviously, like I'm open to every avenue that is content. So whatever we can do." And after that, he set me up with a Frame account, and I went through, and I was like, "Wow, this is so easy and so fast and so convenient. I was like, this is unreal. And then lo and behold, then we all got connected together and started using Fuji and started using the camera to cloud. And it kind of just all started from there.
That's amazing. With the Fuji, I mean, you've used so many different cameras. What key things do you like about your Fujifilm, just as a camera on its own?
I love having something new because you get worn out with the same old, like, oh, using the same body, because I know Sony in and out, but to be almost challenged with a new camera body is so much fun within itself. Just finding out like the settings that you want to take over from Sony, or just every little meticulous thing that you want to do with it. The tracking, the focal points, the quality. I mean, the one thing about this is the low light on this camera is unbelievable. And of course, shooting a concert venue, most of the time is like, now I'm doing bigger shows, we have a lot of light. But even going back to some of the darker shows, it's unreal how great it works and how above even Sony it is with just this low light capabilities, the quality of images it gets. It was so fun to mess around and just learn this new camera on the go, because it made it more exciting for me shooting, because like I said, it gets kind of boring when you have like the same system and you know what to do, you know the shots you're going to get. But with this, it was like I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get a shot, and I wouldn't get it. And I'd be like, well, why didn't I get that? And then go back and then end up getting a shot that was way better than that one. I just love being able to mess around with new bodies, new technology, and do that. But like I said, the quality on this, whether it's video or photo, is some of the best I've used. And I'm going to continue to use Fujifilm now, even though I have all the other bodies. Fujifilm will definitely be a camera that I'm going to stick around with because it's just fantastic. I think I've absolutely fallen in love with it.
Well, I love hearing that. I'm a huge fan of this camera as well. I never was really much of a photographer, but since acquiring one of these, I don't know. I've gotten the itch to just go out there and just take pictures, and just seeing these images really is inspiring. So I want to kind of talk to, the freelance portion of this, because, now you have camera to cloud in here. What's kind of changed with your business and your workflow with while you're out shooting these events? I mean, how does that change for your business as a whole?
So I'll take you back. So like you said earlier, it's a kind of like a one man team thing. So I'll use in 2021 or 2022, 2021, I believe. I work with a company called Knotfest, who is it's Slipknot's press partnership. I know I completely butchered the exact wording it's supposed to be, but we were shooting their big festival out in Iowa, and I was just the one man team that day. So I would be running to stage, shooting half of the band set, running back to the office, dumping, trying to get edits up, and then running and shooting the next band, because it was two side by side stages. So the layover between when one band ends and one band starts was about 5 minutes. So I got my steps in that day. Let's just say I was running around like a madman all day. Um, and what this camera cloud now brings to the table is me being able to still do that, or have a partner with me that can do that. But in real time, I'm going to be able to edit those photos and edit those videos and pull these videos and photos in real time. So essentially, when a band is on stage, they could have played for maybe 5 minutes and we could already have a post up about them. They get off stage, look at their phone and go, how is this already here? How is this already up? Why is there already a recap video from the set that we just got done playing?
Yeah.
That's what that opens up. And kind of moving into Teddy. So Teddy's the first pop artist that I've been with, and the workflow that we have with his team is so different than most metal bands I tour with. Yes, there will be like certain events that they'll need photos instantaneously right after the set is done. Far and few between, but we would have those moments. With Teddy, everything needs to be happening simultaneously. So to be able to start using this camera to cloud and be with an artist like Teddy completely changed the workflow with using this Fujifilm system. So, there'd be plenty of nights where I remember like our London show. It was like, okay, we had like two press outlets that needed photos pretty much before the show was over with.
Yeah.
So what I was able to do is I was able to use my camera to cloud, add in all of those members from his management team from these press outlets into my actual frame folder that we were using. And things were uploading instantaneously. So I could go halfway through a set and they've already starred and liked and made comments on the photos. They're like, yes, these are great. So I'm able to get these photos to them before the show's even done, and they're able to see the photos before the show is even done and have these out. So the second the show ends, they can put up their review with photos. Whereas before it would be, okay, show's over, I'm going to go dump all my footage, then send over selects that I like, which
Mhm.
things that I like, they might not like, or they might like something that I don't like. So it just makes everything, it makes the process streamlined so much better doing it that way, because now they can see in real time what I'm shooting, and they can say, "Oh, let's try to get a shot like this," or "Oh, let's try to get a wide angle from the balcony because we're missing one of those." Things like that. So it's really made everything so much faster, which already
Mhm.
before I like I said, I prided myself on being fast, but having this, it is a game changer, complete game changer, and that's one of the huge benefits that I've had working with this camera to cloud system is it's like I said, it's just faster. It's just everything about it is just so great and streamlined. And I never thought that we would get to a point like this. Well, I figured we would, but I didn't realize how easy it would be just to have this on your camera, and everything is so much quicker. Everything's so much quicker and faster. And like I said, having even the team aspect involved with it, having somebody go out and shoot while I can edit everything in real time, it changes how us as content creators are going to be able to advance now in working these festivals and working these shows and working with certain artists. It's going to be it, the road that we're looking at now is so huge, and I love it.
So, with your clients, with this workflow, do you include this in your cost to your client? Like, do you kind of put this in your budgeting, or as you're invoicing your clients, do you include the camera to cloud system in there just as an add-on, or?
I mean, to be honest with you, no. Um, I just kind of like to encompass everything that I can showcase to an artist
Yeah.
with what I can do. That's just me personally. I don't like trying to add on. Oh, I can do this for more. Like I'm a very like team player when it comes to being on the road and things like that. Like I've definitely taken on more roles on certain tours that you know normally people would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that until it's X amount of money, blah blah blah." And I've just never been like that. I'd rather just like we're all out there for the same purpose. Let's do it. But integrating this Frame.io and this workflow into what I'm doing, it definitely has gotten recognized,
Mhm.
and it definitely is something that makes my value even much more higher because we're working together on this. And just the way I run like my personal business stuff, I would never want to come in and be like, well, hey, I can do this Frame.io thing. It's going to cost you X amount more. It's like, well, no, I'm already out here doing it. Like you hired me to do my job. I'm going to do the best I can do.
Yeah.
I don't need to put add-ons in here and there for it. So that's just me. I mean, everyone runs their stuff differently. But for me personally, that's what has worked, and that's what will continue to work. And it also just, like I said, makes me a more valuable asset when it comes to having, excuse me, having a one man team on the road with you and your artist.
So, outside of live music events, what other doors do you think this workflow opens up for other independent photographers, and maybe other use cases that you can think of using C2C?
Honestly, a lot. I mean, I'll do a lot of like portrait photography in studio. I'll do some weddings. I do a plethora of things outside of just music. But I mean, the same exact system. Think about working on it for, okay, say I'm going into the studio with Teddy Swims, and we have to capture 5 photos to use for the new album. Hypothetical, of course, but just we have to capture 5 photos for the new album, and the whole team obviously can't be in the studio with us. So as I'm shooting these photos, they're being able to see them in real time, uploaded, and saying, "Oh yes, that looks great," or "No, that's not great," or "Let's try something else," or "Ooh, let's do this." Like being able to have that is so much more effective than just doing the entire session. Maybe the photos he likes wouldn't be the ones that they need for an album. So then
Mhm.
just having the artist to say, "Oh yeah, these are great," and then later finding out, "Oh, you actually didn't get the photos that we needed." How detrimental would that be? How much time, how much money, how much waste of everyone's time would that be? So to have this kind of system integrated into it, it's like they're right there in the studio with me, and they're seeing everything that's being uploaded and shot, and they can go, yes, let's try that, or hell, let's move this light, let's do this, let's try this, let's, it just it builds it to where I feel like I have the full marketing team with me
Mhm.
when I'm doing that kind of stuff, instead of just being like, well, I hope they like this when it's done. It's like, no, it's just almost that extra safety net of knowing that you're going to capture what exactly you need to capture, because you have everybody in real time saying that's great or that sucks, let's try something else. Yeah. And I mean, that can be used for, I mean, I could really think of it can be used in any kind of situation. I mean, think of a wedding too. If I have a second shooter out shooting and they're getting maybe bride and groom photos, and the second they're done taking those photos, I can send photos to the bride and groom. And when they're sitting there for their dinner, having their little like 10-15 minutes of hanging out, they could post a wedding photo. That's unreal, because usually you don't get those back until weeks later and things like that because of everything that goes into it. But
Yeah.
just imagine having that, and imagine how much more value that's going to add to not only your business, but how other clients are going to perceive you. And that's why I still am blown away by how all of this works and how great it is, because it is changing the game. It is absolutely changing the game. It has changed the game. It's going to continue, and I can't wait to see what happens a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road with this, because it's the fast track to making everything just so much more simple. But as content creators, we are getting the most bang for our buck, and also like making sure that, like I said, we hold the valuable asset of, hey, I'm coming in to do this. I'm going to make sure that you get everything that you can as fast as you can, because I know that's what you want, especially today's age. Everyone wants everything now, now, now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, okay, here's now. And I'm going to make sure that it's not just quantity over quality, it's quantity and quality. And
Yeah.
that's my biggest thing, is you want to make sure that, yeah, well, you need to be getting content out so much faster and so much more content than you used to have to. You cannot sacrifice the quality. And that's what the Camera to Cloud has done, is you do not sacrifice the quality or the quantity when it comes to using this system.
Well, I want to ask a little bit more about the capture aspect, but I do want to remind the audience that we do have an open Q&A. I know that we redirected the link back to YouTube for some folks that were that might be just hopping on the call, but definitely go into that Q&A box, ask your questions, because we are going to have an open Q&A at the end. If you have any questions for Bryce on his workflow or how he runs his business and things like that. So I want to remind folks that we do have a Q&A at the end. But the big question I want to ask here is a lot of what I think a lot of folks are going to ask is networking. How do you get these assets from your camera to Frame.io? Are you hardwiring in? Are you using Wi-Fi? Are you using any kind of router or MiFi box that you carry with you? What does your data networking look like when you're shooting these events?
Sure. Well, I'll use the example of the Teddy tour, because that was the first one I had started shooting with this Camera to Cloud. It was every day was different. So, there would be some days we'd be playing a small, maybe 1,000 cap venue in Germany, where if anyone that's toured Europe and venues like that knows that Wi-Fi is very far and few between there. So with that, it was, I'd either hook up to my phone's Wi-Fi, or get a little MiFi box, or have some kind of internet that I would try to use for this.
Mhm.
Because obviously, like, hardwiring in isn't really possible unless I had 1,000 foot cable that I could run around and no one's going to trip on, because I'm
Yeah.
all over the venue all at one time. But with Teddy, it was really interesting because we went from doing, those small venues to then coming back to the States and doing arenas. And when you're in an arena run like that, Wi-Fi is everywhere. It's very accessible and it's very fast. So when I would be with Teddy in the arenas and stuff, it's like, yes, I'd be using the Wi-Fi feature on here to upload everything, which, depending on where we were and what day it was or what venue we were at, some days it was lightning fast, some days it was a little slower than normal. So it was mainly the Wi-Fi being used for that. And now that we've started with Teddy doing bigger and bigger venues as he moves on up and gets bigger, it becomes a lot easier to be able to have that. But, on days where I wouldn't have, dedicated Wi-Fi, I could always just hop on my phone and put my hotspot on. And honestly, that sometimes worked so much better than the venue Wi-Fi did. So yeah, Wi-Fi is really, for what I do personally, Wi-Fi was the best case scenario, because like I said, hardwiring in wasn't really an option. Um, but Yeah, because I'm running all over the venue. Like by the time I get done with the show, I'm just dripping in sweat because I'm just running
I can imagine.
everywhere. Yeah, but yeah, it was mainly the Wi-Fi system on board that was my main use with this.
So, outside of capture, I want to talk a little bit about how you utilize Frame in your workflow. So, are there any key features inside of Frame that you use besides just C2C? Do you bring the client into your projects, or do you just send out review links? And what other specific Frame.io tools are you using to kind of streamline this?
So I'll do both. So usually when we're working on so I'll move into the video aspect of it. So when we're doing like a video edit and things like that, I'll work directly in frame with that. So they're able to come in and make, marks and keynotes at certain parts where they're like, oh, let's maybe change this, move this. I basically bring the client and, all of their management team into the project file. So everyone's able to see it in real time because again, it just helps so much better, almost like the example I was using with the studio thing was like, normally, and before I started using this, I would, edit a video and send it over and then get notes, change those, get notes, change those, get notes. So, it wasn't as quick. Sometimes it was first edit, great. Sometimes it was 12th edit, we're great. But bringing people into my actual project on Frame allowed them to see in real time what's being updated. So really it moved from having to export 5 different versions to now there's a final version on Frame that can now be exported and sent out to everybody. And same with photos too. It's bringing everybody into the same project to be able to look and see what photos work, see what photos don't work. It not only saves me time by not needing to give them 30 to 40 photos that I think would be good. It now moves on to, you know, now they can go in and say, hey, we love these 5 photos. Let's get these up so we can post a post like right now. And it just kind of eliminates I don't want to say dead photos, but it eliminates the photos that are just going to sit inside of a folder and never get used because I thought they were good and
Yeah.
they might not want to use them. They just go ahead and pick out their selects that they want right away. And it makes, like I said, everything just so much quicker.
So with this workflow, have you converted some folks to possibly want to use C2C? And honestly, what would you tell somebody that's kind of looking into possibly using this in their workflow?
Yeah, I've had a lot of friends that have reached out, and even some of the crew members and things on the tours that we would do. They would see what I was using and be like, "Oh, what's this? Is this a Dropbox or a Google Drive or something like that?" And I'd be like, "No, it's Frame.io with Adobe." And they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And I kind of show them how I use my workflow, and they're like, "It's just, can I get in on this?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And I've had photo friends who I'll show them I use Frame for mostly everything now, and they're like, "Wow, I need to look into this and get into this because this just seems like it's so much more advanced than so many other programs out there that we've all been using for however long." So, and yeah, and I mean, it's just what I've been saying on here is like trying to convert somebody to come over to Frame. It's like, well, why would you not? Only because everything is so much faster, everything's more simplified, everything is right there at your fingertips, and not only for you, but for the entire team that you're working with as well. It just makes it, like I said, as a content creator and like as having so many friends do the same thing I do, what I'm saying now is being able to not have to put out 12 different versions of a video and then get final approval, just to have everything where everyone can view it all at once
Mhm.
is such a massive benefit for what we all do. Because without it, we would still be doing 12 versions of a video, doing, giving them a bunch of photos. And they're like, well, do you have any more? It's like, well, no, now you can see literally everything that was captured that night. And what do you want? Take your pick. There's a whole lot right here. Just take whatever you want. And it just, like I said, I feel like I'm just a record on repeat, but it's so simplified and it just makes everything flow so much easier.
So can you share if you've experienced kind of a market edge using C2C versus, traditional methods that are still out there now?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like with just everything, with just everything I talked about too. It's just, before I would use, other programs where it's essentially just I'm putting everything into a folder and just saying, okay, if you want it, here it is. You can download it, things like that. But being able with this, it's just it's like I said, it's almost like everyone's there in the room with you working together on something, and everyone can see everything and make the picks, make notes, make whatever they want to in real time as compared to the traditional way of, okay, well, if I'm a manager and I get a link from Bryce to go look at photos and stuff like that, I'm gonna click on the link, have to scroll through and be like, no, no, maybe that one. Yeah, that one's cool. I like this video. We gotta change this and that. And then it's like, then go ahead, send me an email, send notes, and then repeat the entire process over again until it's perfect. But with this, like I said, everyone's in the room with you. They're working with you. They can see everything in real time. So I might say, oh, I really love, photo 7. They're like, nah, let's do photo 8. Okay, let's do photo 8. And then at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, photo 8 was so much better anyway. It's like, really, like, so it's, yeah, there's such a marketing edge to it because it's, you can stick with traditional ways and they work, but everything is about advancing. And it's one of those things where it's like either adapt or get left behind. And I feel like this is the first step of a big adaptation that, not everyone's going to want to get behind this, but eventually everybody will be getting behind some sort of program like this. It's just might as well get on the forefront with it now and use it because it's already showing, results and how simple it is, way above anything else that I've used.
I'm just taking a quick glance at our Q&A here. There's a lot of different threads here, but all right, I think we're almost at Q&A. But so I just want to ask though, what is next? Do you have more stuff coming up with Teddy? Do you have some other possible artists that you're going to be working with in the future? Like what's next for you, Bryce? What can we look forward to seeing from you?
Yeah, so actually, next Monday I leave for tour with a band called Lamb of God. They're a metal band from Richmond, Virginia. They're direct support for the almighty Pantera, so that'll be fun. I'm doing 2.5 weeks with them, and then after that, yeah, Teddy's got some stuff this year. Um, we're doing, we have a small US run that's mainly like a casino run. And then we're going back to Europe for about a month and a half. And then, funny enough, last year with Lamb of God, they did a Headbangers boat cruise, which was a bunch of metal bands came on a boat. People bought on, and it was just, we sailed to, nah, my mind's blanking, but we sailed somewhere down south for a few days and then came back. And I got hooked up with the production company that puts on those. So I'm actually doing the Creed cruises coming up, heading the content team on those, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'll be doing the Creed cruises. And then, yeah, Teddy's got a really busy year. And he's, gosh, I checked last night. He's number 4 on Billboard Top 100 right now, which is absolutely insane. The growth has been phenomenal the past year, but he's got a very busy year. And that's, that whole team is like family. So it's very excited to continue to do this with them because Teddy's become one of my best friends, and the entire team is just, we're all cut from the same cloth, all came from like the Warped Tour world, the metal world, and just so happens that Ted has an amazing voice, and it got shown in the pandemic and by doing covers. And it like, we all wake up, and even like, there was a time where we had to fly to Australia and just super jet lagged. Everyone's tired, kind of cranky. And we just kind of look and start laughing because it's just like, how did we all end up here? Especially him, because he's just like the most humble person I've ever met. And he's like, I don't get it. He's like, I'm just some metal kid from Georgia, and now now I'm on Billboard Top 100. Just it's unreal. But yeah, so far that's my year. I know Slipknot has some stuff at the end of the year that I'll probably be a part of, but yeah, I just kind of take it one day at a time. I like to keep some schedule opening just to take on new projects and new bands and new artists, and I just don't stop. So I don't have off time much. This has probably been the most off time I've had in a while, and I'm already going crazy. So.
Well, I'm so glad in your off time you were able to kind of chat with us and share with our audience, your workflow and the amazing artists you get to work with. I didn't know a lot about Teddy before this event, so I, obviously did a little due diligence. And you're right, the man has an incredible voice, and I'm really excited for his future. And obviously, your other artists, metal is a huge, you know. Segment or a huge audience of people that really love metal. I personally am I'm not a listener, but I know there's a lot of folks that are, and it's just incredible that you get to bring that experience with them and share it all over the world, and yeah, and make it nice and easy in that process. But Bryce, I really appreciate you joining us, but I don't want you to go away just yet. I do want to get into the Q&A, and I know we've covered a lot of stuff in here. So I'm going to take a few moments to glance and see what questions that we actually do have in here that you might be able to answer. And that's our cue for Q&A. There we go. All right.
There we go.
All right. So the first question is from Max Video. How do you ensure internet connectivity on location? So do you scout the venue for speed once the show starts? Uh, he's got a point. House Wi-Fi can really slow down when there's a ton of people. So yeah, how do you balance that?
Yeah, Max, that's probably one of the biggest issues I did run into, especially being with Teddy and us playing so many different types of venues. And you're right, once the show starts, house Wi-Fi can absolutely just start crawling. Um, so there were a couple different things I did. Like I said, sometimes I would use my phone to connect to Wi-Fi. Sometimes I'd be able to talk with the venue and get a separate Wi-Fi link just for myself and just for my camera, which most time venues will have, even if it's just putting like a little private network on their main network. So I at least will get a little bit faster than I would if I was just on some open house Wi-Fi. But yeah, like I said, that was probably the main issue I had every day, was just making sure that I had Wi-Fi. And I've been looking into more, gosh, can't remember the name of it right now, but just like personal low Wi-Fi units that you can bring with you that takes from cell phone towers. So there's always constantly trying to learn more stuff and try to figure out how to make what the camera to cloud does much more efficient when using venues that might not have the best Wi-Fi. So yeah, there's a couple different options with that. Like I said, asking the venue for a separate Wi-Fi link. Sometimes they'll have private networks for their offices and things like that. And it was all too. I mean, like we did a venue in Amsterdam, and it was like an open air amphitheater type. And we had our production office behind the stage, but the second I went to stage, the Wi-Fi really slowed down. So, I was working with two different bodies. So kind of what I would do is I would go and shoot a bunch of photos, and I'd kind of set my body closer to the production office and grab the other camera and start doing the same. So I had two bodies simultaneously uploading at the same time, but it tried to make it a little bit easier by putting one body closer to where the Wi-Fi is. So that would go, and then just kind of continuing that process throughout the show to make sure when the show is done, then the content is still uploaded and still there. And sometimes the Wi-Fi wouldn't be good enough to have it, and I'd kind of go back to traditional ways of just dumping everything and looking at it later. But now the plus side is having Frame is I would dump everything into Frame. So even if everything's not uploading directly from camera to cloud, it's still going to end up in Frame. So again, the same process of having the whole team on there watching it, they can still see it. It's just not going to be in real time. So yeah, ensuring internet connectivity on location, yeah, it's kind of a hit or miss sometimes, but yeah, it is what it is.
Cool. And we have another one from Michael here. It's similar to the internet connectivity issue, but I think it'll speak to a lot of the camera to cloud features here. How's the system handle dropouts in connectivity? Are the files paused, cached, or backed up and then restarted automatically?
Yeah, from everything that I've seen when working with this, it's like if there is a dropout in connectivity, they just get pretty much put on pause and just queued up. And then the second connectivity is brought back in, it automatically starts that process all over again. So there wasn't anything. I never had to go in and manually restart the system to get everything to start uploading again. It would automatically queue up and then just let you know you're not connected. And the second it did get connected again, it would just start right back up where it left off, which is huge because I've definitely worked with systems where you have to restart to get something to start uploading again or things like that. But no, with this system, it was very good at queuing everything up and pausing until connection was right back in, and then everything started uploading again.
Now, this next question I think is really important because transparency and being genuine in what we're trying to accomplish here is important. So I want to throw this out there. Have you had any tech issues while using C2C? And I want to open up the floor to you, Bryce.
Yeah, I would say probably one of the biggest tech issues I've experienced with it is, for me being again like a one man person on tour, I'm constantly shooting photo and video throughout the entire set. And one thing I did find is, when I'm filming, it's usually longer form content. So if I'm shooting, if certain song's coming up, I'm making sure I'm capturing the entire song, the reaction, maybe moments in the audience of people getting emotional, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
One of the big issues I ran into with this was, if I have 100 photos queued up ready to go and I start recording video, everything is paused because the camera obviously is taking priority for shooting video. And that was one of the big tech issues I ran into, because obviously in a perfect world, I would love to, if I'm still shooting video, I'd love for the photos to still be uploading in real time and not wait until I'm finished with my video. I will say the one way I've worked around that, which, because I had two bodies, so it's not ideal for everybody, but because I had two bodies, I would try to shoot photos on one and video on the other one. So that way, when I'm shooting video on one, my photos are still going to be uploading. When I am shooting video on, or photos on one, then the video I just shot is also going to be uploading straight to Frame. So I would say, like, that was my workaround with it. Again, I had two bodies, so it's not practical for everybody, but that was my main way around that problem. But again, everything is so early still in the C2C that that could be something that gets fixed in the next couple of years, or maybe even sooner than that. But outside of just that, I didn't run into a whole lot of tech issues. I mean, apart from Wi-Fi, but that's not a tech issue within C2C itself. That's just an issue with wherever I was and what we had available to use at the time. So, yeah, as far as tech issues went, that was really the only one I really ran into. And also diving into, making sure that you have your settings matched to, downloading either original or proxy, or whatever the case may be, if you want to upload raws and jpegs, things like that. Because if you're uploading all the raws, then obviously the the transfer time is going to be a lot more, especially over Wi-Fi. So a lot of times I would just use straight JPEGs straight into Frame, which at the end of the day, if these things are going on Instagram or anything that's online, that doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. And the proxy videos too were still of high enough quality to where they could be posted right away, and you wouldn't have noticed a difference in quality loss whatsoever. But besides that, no, not a whole lot of tech issues besides just what I mentioned.
So that actually is funny. We actually got that question. That was going to be the next one we were going to ask you: is, are you posting real time low res proxies, or the full res? And it sounds like you use proxy files as well as JPEG files for your videos. I'm sorry, for your photos.
Mhm.
So yeah, I imagine that kind of relates to this question as well.
Yeah, it would depend. So if I'm in an arena and the Wi-Fi is blazing fast, no, everything's going great, I'll upload full resolution, because to be honest, the full resolution is going to take just as much time as mild internet would do if I'm doing low resolution. So it would, like I said, it all depends too on Wi-Fi. So if I had the good Wi-Fi and I was all linked up, full resolution on everything, and I would see no delay in it. I mean, maybe occasionally if I was shooting like a 10-minute video portion, that might take a little bit longer to upload. Um, but yeah, it just, again, just depends on the environment and where you're at. Like I said, fast Wi-Fi, full resolution, kind of medium Wi-Fi, then I would definitely just
Mhm.
go with proxy and JPEGs, just to make sure that if anything, I'm getting my selects from the team members, and I can always go back and select those raws and make the edits I need to later for that, or if they need extra stuff done that would require editing on a raw compared to a JPEG. So yeah, it was all kind of dependent, but yeah, I guess the answer is both.
All right. No, I know we talked a little bit about workflow earlier, but we got a specific one about workflow. And I think this is good to kind of dig into this a little bit. But the question is, what's your workflow when it comes to post production when using Frame.io? Do you go from Capture One to Photoshop to Frame? And I think they're just using that as an example. But once you leave Frame, where does it go? And then how do you put it back?
Yeah, I mean, everything's pretty integrated within Frame, so it makes it really simple. But yeah, it would go into either a Photoshop or a Lightroom, or sometimes just edit straight into Frame as well. Um, yeah, the workflow was was different, because a lot of times the edits would need to be minimal on certain things. So if I need to take it into Photoshop or to Lightroom, it was a very quick, like, in and out and then right back into Frame. As far as video go, again, like using it in Premiere as well, or if I had to do anything in After Effects, moving into After Effects and then putting it right back into the workflow of Frame. So yeah, I mean, it's all pretty. They make it so simple when using Frame and other Adobe products as well, because then transferring everything over to your program and then putting it back into Frame is pretty seamless. Um, But like I said, even in examples where I would have a JPEG uploaded and maybe need to do a RAW, then I would kind of take it from the old setup I had of just taking, from my hard drive into Photoshop or Lightroom, but then putting it straight into Frame right after that. So yeah, I mean, post production, you can kind of go a bunch of ways with it. I mean, sometimes I wouldn't even use Premiere. I would use Final Cut if something would need to just be really quick, which that's not integrated within Frame. But it was as easy as exporting it and putting it right back into Frame for everyone to view in real time. So it made everything, it still was really simple, even when not using, Adobe products with Frame.
Amazing. All right, let me just take another quick glance here. Let me hide that one. I think we're almost at the end of our Q&A, but the one big one, and I think everyone might want to know, is where can we find more info on you, sir?
Info on me, you don't want that. It's fine. There's a TikToker with my name. You can just go look up his dances and stuff. No, so everything that I work under is Where's Bryce. Not Where is Bryce, Where's Bryce. That's my, Twitter, which I don't really use anymore, but my website's where'sbryce.com. My Instagram is Where's Bryce. LinkedIn is Where's Bryce. Pretty much that's just my name I came up with so many years ago and just has kind of stuck, which was a good thing now, because now there is another Bryce Hall that is very, very much more popular than I am. And it's funny, I get a lot of DMs thinking that I'm him, and it's quite funny, honestly. But yeah, info on me. I have a website. It's got a bunch of work, and then mainly my Instagram. My Instagram is what I mainly use for my portfolio. It just seems so seamless now, just to kind of have everything on your Instagram. I mean, that's where I direct a lot of people to now. It's like, yeah, I have a website. You can go and look up actual, like, my portfolio books on there, because I have one for live, one for portraits. I have a video segment, things like that, a whole contact information, like navigation, whatever. But with Instagram, it's just, that's where I upload everything I'm working on currently. So if you want to get a good look at what I'm doing, it's mainly within Instagram. But like I said, all my handles are all Where's Bryce, and that's for pretty much every social media that there is.
Amazing. All right. Well, that's I think that's all the time we have for any questions. Bryce, thank you so much. I mean, what can I say? Amazing work, amazing talent you work with, and amazing talent that you are. So I really appreciate you sharing your story, and hopefully there's some folks in the audience that were able to really kind of take advantage of the things that you were able to share with us today, and hopefully use that in their workflows, and maybe improve their relationship with their clients and get more work, because we all want to get busy and get working and, keep things flowing along. So Bryce, thank you once again.
No, Sean, thank you. I can't even express how much I appreciate this. It's still surreal that we're even doing this, and we're live and have been live for 54 minutes. So it's crazy, but no, thank you so much for having me. And I hope that, could help anybody out there, because we're all fighting for the same team. We're all going towards the end goal that's the same. So, being able to do stuff like this and show off, features like this that some people might try to gatekeep, or, not let people in on, oh, well, I use this thing. It's like, no, it's like we're all doing the same thing. And it's great to be able to showcase something like this that I didn't even know about until about a year ago, and being so immersed in it now is great. And I hope that people that are watching that do the same thing I do, or want to do the same thing, or are, or whatever, that this will help them out, because it has helped me out tremendously.
Well, Bryce, thank you once again for sharing. And, we hope to talk again soon. I'm sure we'll talk at some point very soon. So
we better, I'm going to hold you to it. We better talk. We better be best friends after this. We better be best friends.
Did we become best friends just now?
I think that's what's happening. Yeah.
All right. Well, Bryce, thanks again. Now, if you want to learn more about Frame.io, head over to frame.io/live and sign up for any of our ongoing sessions. We have weekly updated sessions to go over kind of general overview of Frame.io. Also, how to empower your team to set up all your admin backflows. But we also have events that we update all the time. So please check our schedule regularly. Now, make sure you also follow us on Instagram. We do post a lot of different information on there, obviously about Frame.io live events, but also Frame.io in general. So if you want to learn more about Frame, definitely check that out. And also, if you want to read more about Bryce, there's a lot of information on our blog, located in our blog page, which is Frame.io Insider. And you can access that by visiting blog.frame.io. Once again, thank you all of you for joining us today at Frame.io Live. Have a great day, and we hope to see you on a stream very, very soon. We'll see you later, everyone. Bye-bye.